For more than 75 years, the US military has been quietly refining the science of keeping ordinary food edible in the worst conditions on Earth, and you have probably walked past their entire pantry this week without realizing it. The same 6 chemistry tricks that kept a soldier alive in Vietnam can keep a sealed can in your garage alive for 50 years. These 15 items are not exotic or expensive. Most Americans walk past them every grocery trip. And number 1 is the one veterans quietly buy in bulk. The calmest, cheapest, most overlooked item on any American shelf. Each of these 15 foods survives because it quietly uses one trick veterans learned in the field. They do not all survive the same way. Some win on moisture, some on acid, some on sealed metal. And that difference is exactly why a so-called shelf-stable pantry quietly fails. We start at number 15. Number 15. Hardtack-style pilot bread. Before there were MREs, there was a cracker so dry you could break a tooth on it. The Smithsonian and the National Park Service both document it as the foundation of every American combat ration from the Civil War forward. Flour, water, sometimes salt, baked bone-dry until almost no moisture is left. Kept dry, it remains edible for years. Walk into the international aisle of an American grocery store, and you will still find it today, usually marketed as pilot bread or ship biscuit for a few dollars a sleeve. Most shoppers walk right past it. That is the mistake. A storm week with no fresh bread leaves you with this single dry cracker as the only bread-shaped object in the pantry. The grocery crackers most Americans buy don't last the same way because they add fat and leavening, moisture that spoilage organisms love. A flat sleeve of pilot bread costs a few dollars and lasts longer than 5 loaves of sliced bread. The reason is the same one soldiers trusted in 1862. No moisture, nothing lives. And that dry shelf trick is one branch of survival chemistry. The next one is the wet shelf version. Number 14, white rice. The cheapest calories in any grocery store might also be the longest-lasting food in the building. White rice stored sealed in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber is rated at 30-plus years by Utah State University Extension. The same shelf life as the sealed cans buried under Vietnam-era bunkers. Most shoppers do not realize brown rice has the opposite problem. Those healthy oils go rancid within a year, which means many shoppers buy the better bag and quietly destroy their own long-term supply without ever knowing. Brown and white look identical on the shelf. Only one survives. A year 3 dinner of plain white rice still works. A year 3 dinner of brown rice tastes like cardboard. The real failure mode is not spoilage, but insects, which is why the bag should be airtight from the moment of purchase. A 25-pound bag of white rice costs less than one takeout dinner for a family. That is the cheapest multi-decade calorie source in the building. Rice alone is just starch. The next item is what turns stored rice into a meal that actually fills you up. Number 13. Dried beans. A pantry of rice and no beans is a pantry that cannot build dinner. Dried pinto, black, navy, and kidney beans, kept cool, dry, and sealed, retain quality for 25 to 30 years per USDA and University Extension guidance. Calorie-dense, protein-rich, multi-decade storage for under $1 a pound. Different beans digest very differently. Lentils cook fastest, navy beans mid-range, kidney beans slowest. But most shoppers grab whatever is on sale without thinking about prep time. That choice matters in a power outage week. The real consequence hits hard by day 3 of any supply disruption. A household full of rice and no protein ends with hungry kids and exhausted parents. Soaking beans overnight is the only real labor, and canned beans exist for the lazy version, which is coming up. One 5-pound bag per type covers a family for months. Beans take planning. The next item is what soldiers actually ate when they could not soak anything. Number 12. Canned meat, Spam, canned chicken, corned beef, sardines. Most Americans see Spam as a novelty. Veterans see it as a complete hot meal that can sit in a duffel bag for a decade. Per Hormel Company history and USDA guidance, canned shelf-stable meats hold 2 to 5 years sealed, often longer when unblemished, because they fall into the same low-acid preserved category that won 2 world wars. When canned meat prices rise, the cheap store-brand versions disappear first. The shelf still looks full of premium cans. That is exactly the silent shortage pattern. Useful formats gone, premium replacements remaining. Multi-pack 12 cans vanishing while single premium cans sit fully stocked is one of the warning signs worth noticing on your next grocery run. A power outage with no grill means canned meats still cook on a camp stove in 8 minutes, and most are edible cold. The salt content that preserves them is the same salt trick veterans have trusted for centuries. A case of 12 fits on one shelf and lasts a family a year. Meat needs flavor. The next item is the most underestimated flavor weapon in any pantry. Number 11. Soy sauce. Pantry failure usually is not about hunger. It is about day 14, when you cannot look at plain rice again. Sealed, unopened soy sauce remains usable 2 to 3 years past its best-by date, and the high salt content is precisely what preserves it. The same survival trick that has kept soy sauce on military field tables for over a century. The bottle almost outlives the family that buys it. Many Asian grocery bottles sit at the back of the international aisle, and mainstream shoppers pass them. Stored rice plus canned meat plus soy sauce becomes a different meal every night. The bottle costs a couple of dollars and unlocks everything else in the dry pantry. Soldiers do not stockpile food, they stockpile flavor. Salt preserves soy sauce. Plain salt does more, and the military has learned it the hard way. Number 10. Iodized salt. The cheapest item on this list might be the oldest survival technology in human history. Iodized salt, kept dry in a sealed container, has an effectively indefinite shelf life per FDA and major retailer storage guidance. For pennies. Most households own salt, but not iodized, and the iodine part of the salt is what quietly disappears first in poorly stored containers. 3 years in a humid kitchen cabinet, and the mineral benefit is gone, even though the box still looks fine. A meatless, dairy-free, fresh vegetable-free week without iodine is a real nutritional problem most shoppers never consider. Salt is not just food. Salt is what makes food safe, preserving, dehydrating, and slowing bacterial growth all in one box. One 3-pound container covers a household for years. Salt preserves meat. Sugar preserves something else entirely. Number 9. White sugar. Most people think of sugar as the thing preppers avoid. Veterans stockpile it. Sealed, granulated white sugar, kept dry, holds quality indefinitely per USDA storage guidance. White sugar really does not expire when it stays dry. A wet bag, however, turns it into a brick within hours. Moisture is the only real enemy. The sugar itself works as an osmotic preservative that dehydrates bacteria on contact, which is why the survival trick doubles as a calorie emergency reserve. A spoonful of sugar in water is faster medical relief than almost anything else in a typical kitchen. Most shoppers treat sugar as everyday and never stockpile it deliberately, but a 25-pound bag under a sealed bucket is one of the cheapest calorie reserves in any grocery store. The shelf life fact here is rare. Indefinite is the strongest anchor on this list. Sugar preserves foods externally. Honey preserves itself, and has been doing it for 3,000 years. Number 8. Honey. There is a jar of honey in an Egyptian tomb that is still edible today. You can buy the same jar at the grocery store this week. Honey's chemistry is roughly 18% water, a pH between 3.2 and 4.5, plus natural hydrogen peroxide produced by an enzyme bees add during ripening. And that combination is why archaeologically documented honey from thousands of years ago remains edible per USDA and the National Honey Board. The hidden weak link is that crystallization is normal. Most shoppers throw honey away when it solidifies, mistaking the change for spoilage. It is not spoilage. Honey also acts as a sugar preservative for fruits in jam, the same chemistry in a different delivery. If honey can survive a tomb, it can survive a garage shelf. 1 jar, 10+ years, 3 uses. Sweetener, sore throat soother, simple wound care. Honey is sugar's wild cousin. The next one is sugar's most useful military form, instant coffee. Number 7. Instant coffee. Governments have spent billions keeping soldiers caffeinated in combat. Freeze-dried instant coffee, issued in U.S. military K and C rations continuously since World War II and still in modern MREs, runs a sealed jar shelf life of 2 to 20+ years depending on brand. Coffee made America fight 2 world wars. The packaging is the weak link. A vacuum-sealed glass jar outperforms a resealable plastic bag or cardboard canister, which is why cheaper instant coffee packaging is what fails first. Hard days run on caffeine. Survivors of long disasters say it openly. A power outage, a cold morning, no coffee maker. Instant coffee still works with hot water from a camp stove in under a minute. Caffeine withdrawal headaches during a stressful event are an underrated health issue, and a small daily dose prevents them. A vacuum jar costs a few dollars and lasts a working adult a year. Caffeine wakes you up. The next item keeps you alive when there is no fresh food for a child or infant in the household. Number 6. Powdered milk, non-fat instant. A pantry full of rice and beans can still leave a household deficient in calcium, vitamin D, and fat-soluble vitamins. And kids first. Non-fat instant powdered milk, sealed with an oxygen absorber, holds 18 to 20 plus years of storage per Utah State University Extension guidance, meaning a toddler in the household has a long-term dairy backup regardless of refrigerator access. Whole-fat powdered milk, by contrast, goes rancid fast. The same trap as brown rice. The label says powdered milk, but the shelf life lives in the fat line. Non-fat comes in white cartons, whole fat in yellow. Most shoppers do not differentiate. $1.10 can covers a family's dairy backup for months. Powdered milk also sneaks protein into cooking. Pancakes, cream of anything soup, and a thin white sauce over vegetables all quietly use it as a base. Calcium keeps bones strong. The next item keeps blood pressure stable when meals get repetitive and stressful. Number 5. Distilled white vinegar. The cheapest bottle in the cleaning aisle is also one of the oldest preservation tricks in the world. Distilled white vinegar, sealed, has effectively indefinite shelf life because of its acidity, around 5% per USDA and major retailer guidance, for under $5 a gallon. Sold in the cleaning aisle rather than the food aisle, most shoppers never connect the two locations. That split placement is exactly why vinegar never registers as a stockpile item. A week without bleach, and vinegar still disinfects counters, vegetables, even toothbrushes at 5% strength. Pickling is just the headline. The real value is everything else. Vinegar pickling also extends the life of fresh garden vegetables for months, which is the original home canning trick. 3 gallons per household, 1 for the kitchen and 2 in storage, cost less than a single takeout order. Vinegar preserves from the outside. The next one is a full meal that comes preserved from the inside. Number 4. Canned soup, stew, or chili. When everything else runs out, there is exactly one can that can feed a person for a whole day. Canned low-acid meals, soup, stew, chili, beef with vegetables, hold 2 to 5 years sealed per USDA guidance, often longer when unblemished. 1 can of dense chili or lentil stew routinely clears 1,000 calories, roughly a full day's intake for an adult. The hidden weak link is that soup has hundreds of variations. Only dense, bean, lentil, or chili-based versions actually replace a meal. Broth-only cans give almost nothing. Counting calories per can is the skill most shoppers never use at the canned food shelf. A cheap multi-can shrink wrap is a better deal than a premium single can for this purpose, and the cans are still edible straight from the tin during a power outage. The canned soup category doubles as a hot fluid source in cold weather emergencies, which matters more than people realize. 12 cans cost less than 1 fast food run. Liquid calories matter in a crisis. Powdered drinks concentrate hydration even further, and number 3 is exactly that. Number 3, powdered drink mix, or electrolyte powder. Dehydration is faster than starvation. The military has always known it. Most grocery shoppers have never thought about it. Sealed powdered drink mixes, orange juice powder, lemonade, electrolyte replacement, hold 2 to 10 years depending on container per USDA and major brand guidance. Individually sealed sticks last longest. The hidden weak link is that bottled water is rarely stockpiled in meaningful quantities, but water flavoring tends to disappear first when demand spikes. Stored water goes flat. Flavored powder is what actually makes a household keep drinking during a heat wave or recovery period. Electrolyte powder also covers the salt loss issue during heavy sweating or vomiting, both relevant in crisis conditions. A box of sticks costs a few dollars and lasts years. Hydration is half the battle. The other half is morale. And number 2 is the item military planners have quietly called the second most important thing in the field for decades. Number 2, hard candy or plain sugar mints. There is a reason every soldier's pocket has a piece of candy. It is not a treat. Sealed hard candy, kept dry, holds quality for years. The high sugar and very low moisture prevent microbial growth entirely. Individually wrapped hard candies survive humid conditions that destroy chocolate and any soft candy in weeks. A piece of hard candy in a pocket can keep blood sugar from crashing, and that simple physics is the entire medical logic for keeping one in anyone's pocket. When blood sugar drops, you do not think clearly. You fall. Most modern shoppers, hammered by diet culture, throw away the cheapest survival fuel they could carry. A diabetic relative who forgets a meal can be helped by exactly one candy. Sugar also slightly raises alertness, a chemical combination that has kept soldiers awake through long watches for centuries. A roll of peppermint candies costs $1 and fits anywhere. Candy keeps the body going. Number 1 is the item most Americans already have at home right now, and do not realize is the calmest, cheapest, most overlooked long-shelf survival food on this entire list. Number 1, plain white flour, sealed, and dry pasta. Most Americans walk past number 1 every grocery trip without thinking. Veterans quietly buy it in bulk. White flour, sealed in a cool, dry container, retains usable quality for 10 to 25 plus years per USDA and Utah State Extension guidance. Dry pasta lands in roughly the same range, 10 to 30 years. Whole wheat flour goes rancid in 6 to 12 months. The same trap as brown rice, just sneakier because nobody stocks whole wheat as a survival item. A 25-year backup bread source costs pennies per pound. The hidden weak link is that most home pantries keep flour loosely in thin paper bags. Oxygen and moisture slowly destroy quality. The cheap paper bag is the weak version. The resealed in a bucket version is the survival version. Bakers think of flour as fresh baked. Non-bakers do not think of it at all. A storm week with flour, water, salt, and a Dutch oven becomes bread for an entire family from a single bag. But the deeper reason flour is number 1 is that it is the connecting tissue for every other item on this list. Pancakes from flour plus powdered milk plus canned fruit. Flatbread from flour plus water. Fried dough from flour plus any cooking oil. Roux from flour plus the fat skimmed off canned meat. It is the one food that turns the entire 15-item pantry into real meals. A 25-pound bag of white flour in a sealed 5-gallon bucket costs less than a single restaurant meal for a family of 4 and lasts decades. Most Americans walk past it every week. So here is the system. Rice plus beans is a pile of starch. Add canned meat and you have protein. Add soy sauce and you have flavor. Add salt and sugar and you have the original preservation tools. Add instant coffee and you have morale. Add powdered milk and honey and you have nutrition and a sweetener that survives on its own. Add vinegar and you have pickling and sanitation. Add canned soup and chili and you have full meals in single cans. Add powdered drink mix and hard candy and you have hydration and emergency glucose. Add flour and you have the backbone that turns all of it into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is the survival pantry. The same 6 tricks the military has refined for 75 years: low moisture, high acid, high salt, high sugar, sealed metal, sealed airtight packaging, show up in every single one of these 15 items. They are not exotic foods. They are ordinary grocery items quietly engineered for long shelf life, sitting in plain sight on the average store aisle. This week, before anything else, grab a case of cheap canned meat multipacks, a 25-pound bag of white rice, a gallon of distilled white vinegar, and a glass jar of instant coffee. Those 4 buy you the most immediate storage value per dollar. This month, upgrade what you already have. Pour rice, beans, flour, and sugar into sealed 5-gallon buckets with oxygen absorbers, add a double-second 10-can of non-fat instant powdered milk, and rotate in fresh jars of honey and a couple rolls of hard candy. Before the next storm season or any extended grid stress event, finish the kitchen. Stock soy sauce, iodized salt, drink mix sticks, and a multi-pack of canned soup or chili. Add a sleeve of pilot bread as your dry bread insurance. You still have time. You just should not wait. Shelves do not have to be empty for a shortage to start. The useful, affordable version thins first, then the price rises, then the format shrinks. The smartest stockpile is the boring one you build while the rest of the store still looks fine. Which food on this list do you think is already starting to thin in your store, and which one are you going to grab on your next grocery run?